we are going to join. This is all down to this thing here. And it's the Downing Street coat of arms, and it was posted, I don't know, a few days ago. And when Andrea centers herself on the frame, you're not quite. We're live with this because it's so important and very important. And we got Andrea Foulkes. You're a little cutting the top of your beautiful head off, darling.
Where would you like me to be?
That's fine. Great.
That better?
Yeah, great. Well, we've got the Westbury White Horse behind us, and not too far away.
Behind me. Can you see? I brought him in from outside.
Oh my God. Now, the whole thing is, this is all happening because this morning I got this post. Now, there has been talk about coats of arms by other people. There have also been talks about President Trump. The main talk about the coats of arms is that in the last month or so, there hasn't been a coat of arms being where the Prime Minister talks and speaks and does his thing. And when he was ill, all the other ministers just had the NHS propaganda stuff. They've scared so many people from going to hospital now that if you go to hospital, you're going to die. So 2 million people a month visit the NHS, according to their figures, and they're down to less than 1 million. I'd say they're down to a lot less than that, judging by the number of wards. Anyway, the point is the coat of arms has changed. And in America, the gold braid around which the president would have behind the stars and stripes has changed from a gold braid, which meant admiralty law, to some other kind of law. So anyway, the coat of arms in the United Kingdom has changed over the centuries or the millennia. And here we have Andrea, who originated that post, i.e. This one, let's get that up again, i.e. this post. This is her original post. And she's now going to talk to us all about that.
Hi, Miles. Okay, I made that post on the 12th of May. Okay, so that's significant. It's also significant that I say this because in the UK, I was the past life regression expert on TV. So I deal with timelines, okay? So timelines in the past don't really exist. They're concurring timelines, coexisting timelines. But what's happening on the planet now is they're trying to shift the timeline, okay? So you have to stay with me on this because it will get complex, but I'm trying to keep it quite simple. So I don't really watch the press briefings, but I was guided because I work from my intuition. So I was guided to see that, and I saw that on the 12th of May. Now, it was from a press briefing on the 11th of May, so that's significant because it's the master number 11, okay? Now, I don't know if they changed that coat of arms before the 11th of May. They may well have done, I don't know. But I personally, as a witness of the past lives, which is what I represent in the UK, I noticed that on the 11th of May. So here's your passport, okay? And you've got the lion in the UK wearing a crown, okay? And you've got the unicorn who's in chains. And then you have here, I don't speak French, but I'll tell you what it says. It says, Dieu mon droit, which I probably said it wrong. But in English, that means, hold on one second, right to rule by the monarch. So it's about God and the divine right to rules of the monarchy, of the divine right of the monarchy to rule. Also, on the Garter Circlet, which is this bit round here, okay, that's called the Garter Circlet. That actually says in French something that I won't even bother to try and pronunciate in French, but it means shine on him who evil thinks, okay? So both of those things, as I noticed from the 11th of May, are gone. So now you have this, but it doesn't say anything. And the Garter Circle doesn't say anything either. Now it gets really more interesting because over time you have the unicorn who is in chains. And the reason they chain the unicorn is because they believe the unicorn to be dangerous. It's a dangerous creature. But why would you have a unicorn? Now, we all love unicorns. In the UK, it's very big at the moment to buy things with unicorns on, but why would you have a passport? Why would you even have your shield, a coat of arms, a unicorn, unless they ever existed in history, which they did exist in history, but they exist in another timeline of existence. So now that we're moving the timelines out of needing a outer monarchy to an inner sovereignty, so you crown yourself, okay? So I don't know actually how far along we took, because in some of the previous coats and shields of arm, okay, you would have the lion, which represents the Aldebaran star system, and he used to be on top of the crown, which would say that we are now under the Aldebaran crown, okay? But that's been gone. I don't know how long that's been gone, because I'm just kind of putting the thread together myself. But the lion represents the Aldebaran star system, but some people will tell me no, but I'm going way back. Before then, it's the Lion of Judah, okay, which represents the house, the tribe of Judah, which is the Ephraim. I'm probably saying it wrong. It's Ephraim, which is that house. That's what it represents. So the harp represents the house of David, okay, and then you've got the rose, which some would say, oh, what does that represent? And I'm not completely sure, because these are the Israelite heraldic animals, which is the lion and the unicorn. That's if we don't go way back to what I'm talking about, because I'm going way back, okay? So from my perspective...
What do you mean by way back? I mean, how many, are we talking 2 millennia, 3, 1,000 years? What?
Okay, so when I start going on about the Aldebaran star system and
which
the
is
lion...
connected with the Germans?
Yeah.
And the war? And the secret space program?
I'm going way back. I'm going to Enki and Enlil and the timelines. That's how far back.
The most ancient story on the other side of Orion. Very important. So very important. Not Zachary Sitchin stuff. Forget about that. No, do not. That's crap. Disinformation.
Story. So what this symbolizes, because remember, it's a pantomime on Earth, and the pantomime's playing out now, okay? And what really matters now, and this is huge that this has gone, this is so huge, but I don't say that humanity will necessarily like it, okay? Because now where this guides you to potentially is back to self-sovereignty. Now, self-sovereignty means that to acquire self-sovereignty, that's why you've got in the background the unicorn of the heart, okay? Because the unicorn represents purity of heart, and only those who go through the ascension process, which is regaining the ability to reside in your own heart. But to do that, when the magnetic energy field shifts on a planet, you have got to have opened your third eye. And opening your third eye is symbolic of growing up and becoming adults, not being children. Okay.
Now, I'm going to butt in. It's very important you're saying about the magnetic fields, because they are changing. There are two magnetic fields coming from the sun. They're going to full antiphase, and when you add those antiphase energies together, they produce an energy field in the horizontal, or 90 degrees to that. And also our North Pole energy field, the heliosphere is going down, and the magnetic field of the Earth is going down.
And also we're going to go a bit at tangents now. So obviously this all ties into the corona, which is the crown chakra, you know, which is why we're seeing all these crowns on these animals, you know, all the crowns, okay? The other thing is, in acupuncture, okay, the thymus gland, which actually is to do with breathing, which is where all these issues are coming from, because the ozone changes, because you've now got planes and there's not enough pollution in the air, so then that makes the sun stronger, and then people have to stabilize their breathing differently. And also we've just talked, as Miles said, about the stratosphere magnetic pole shifting, so that affects breathing, and you've got to align your energy field to the new earth. You've got to align to the Schumann frequency, because the Schumann frequency of the earth has changed. And so going back to why I mentioned the thymus, okay, in acupuncture, in fact, Chinese acupuncture, okay, CV19 is the thymus gland here, okay? So you've got to open the thymus gland, which in spiritual terms, people call this the higher heart, okay? If you don't open the higher heart, you will not be able to breathe in the new world. And it's not the new world order, it's the new world of humanity, which goes back to sovereignty.
So how do you open that? I mean, it's easy to say these things. You got to open this and open that. How do you do that? Or, unless you want to explain that at the end.
In truth, not to scare people, but not everybody will necessarily make it in this physical body that they've incarnated into. It's a free will planet, okay? You are being given the chance now. All the clues are being given to those who see. Okay, that's why Boris is telling you now. Okay, that's why we've got green for go. Green for go. It's not red anymore. It's not stop. It's green. It's go. It's go. Go outside. That's why they're telling you to exercise Earth, because when you exercise, you'll start to open your lungs, which you will need to be able to do to breathe in the new Earth frequency. And why he's saying is stay alert, which is we are giving you messages. Those with eyes to see, third eye open, will be able to decipher the coding and the messages, okay? If you don't keep up with this, eventually you will be so lost because you're still in the 3D matrix that you will actually think this is pure evil, but it's not, because everything that you have relied on while you have been a child of the planet and not been allowed to grow up, not allowed for your third eye to open, not allowed to go back to live in your heart, all the trinkets of that world will be removed slowly. There will be a period of grace, but those trinkets will be removed. And many of you will struggle. For example, as the NHS will begin to change, and I don't know 100%, but potentially it could be privatized as we move into more holistic health as opposed to allopathic health.
Well, that's how that. Got to go in there. I mean, it's by and large privatized already. It's owned, a lot of it, by Bill Gates and his various, killer companies.
Yeah.
Shouldn't say that loaded language, but I mean, it's a lot of the. I can't speak. I'm speaking here. The point about those very medicines that you're talking about, they're being criminalized even more. So how is it going to move into that when these kind of things are criminalized?
I don't have all the minutiae details, but what you will probably be given is a period of grace for transformation, which is kind of what you've entered now. So you've entered a period of grace where you've been given a chance to readjust your energy field and how you breathe and how you eat, and everything will be allowed for you to go through this transition period. If you don't make the adjustments, you will struggle to be here. Now, Billy Boy Gates will offer you the kind of, like the child catcher.
He's not offering, he's shoving it down your throat with willful aggression in compliance with all the other governments.
Yeah, but it will have to be a choice. So it's very important that you have a critical mass of people in each country who are awake, and you have a critical mass on the earth who are awake to go. This is a free will choice. You do not have to take this, okay?
Well, I'm going to stop again. How do people face down this legislation? The house is going to be taken off, and this is fear and it's terrible, but this legislation is going in everywhere. How does ordinary people say, I've got free will and I'm not going to take this pathological killing control from Bill Gates?
They have to go through the deprogramming of their own soul, okay? So what I'm saying is, there's this one and there's this way. So, okay, you're given an option, okay? If you don't want to do the inner work on yourself, there will be the app, the chip, your free will to take that, okay? They're sending out letters now asking your children to be swabbed to give them their DNA. Now, you as a parent have a free will to go, no, because when they're sending this letter out, it says invitation. Invitation does not mean you have to do anything. Invitation is merely an invitation to which, if you're very polite, you could RSVP by sending the letter back unopened, because you'd have a clue what it is, or you could just seal it up and send it back. If you're, not aware of the story, you might think, oh, look, benevolent people trying to help us. Let's swab our child and send their DNA back. I mean, they're even, according to one friend, telling me that where she lives, and I think it maybe depends on your children and what blood group maybe. I'm making this up, the blood group. I don't know this for sure. But I would imagine, because with her children, they weren't asking her to swab her children. They were asking her to send a blood sample of her children. Okay,
this is satanic. This is really, really bad. And the whole test for COVID the tests so far were DNA tests. They were not auto what do you call them, antibody tests.
And now they're offering some people, selected families, okay, they're offering some of those children for the parents to offer up them to give a blood sample, and they will give them a £20, ironically, £20 shopping voucher for that.
So you're actually engaging with a contract there and exchanging things for a form of money.
Yeah.
Which is again a trick.
Yeah, it's an illusion.
It's a contractual trick.
Well, it's like, it goes back to the film Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, isn't it? It's the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang coming with the lollipops. Lollipops, children, lollipops. You know, unless you can see through this illusion, you will get caught in the trap, you know, and this is the free will of each of humanity. So Miles is asking me, what do you have to do? I woke 20 years ago, ironically 20 years ago, I personally woke up. In the UK, I became very quickly the past life regression expert on TV, taking members of the public and celebrities back to past lives. Now, my purpose for that was outside of what TV's purpose was, which was to try and show certain timelines. Now, my purpose was to show you can heal by going into your timelines. So you go into your past lives, you go into your inner child, you go into your ancestral timelines, you see that there are entities. You don't need to be fearful of entities, just know that they exist, and you release them from your emotional energy body. Now, we can do this a little bit easier now, because in the last 20 years, there's come in things like light language. I'm not the only person who speaks light language. There are other people who speak it, but you must be very discerning in the light language codes you listen to, because they come from various star systems. So when you hear those codes, they unbraid dormant coding DNA, because sound frequency opens gates within the inner temple of the mind, okay? So what you're being given now by the monarchy stepping down, because apparently the Queen isn't even in Buckingham Palace, she's in the House of Windsor now, which is Windsor Castle, for the foreseeable future, okay? Because we're having a changing of the guard. Now, whether in 3D, I don't know whether in 3D it will play out a different story. I can only tell you from a higher frequency reality. So now you're being given an opportunity to use your time efficiently to go from being a child, which they kept you in the child catcher phase, okay? Now we're going through the phase which it will complete in 2023, where you get to grow up and become the adult. And when you grow up and you become the adult, you take responsibility for your health and well-being, and your heart opens, your third eye opens, all your chakras align, and you align your Schulman frequency to the new earth. And this is why I keep saying it's a period of grace, that you're given this time to awaken.
So that's basically the next few years. That's starting now. It's actually in work right now, and a lot of these issues and things that they're talking about are all key frequencies: Agenda 21, Agenda 30, and the 2035 thing, that Extinction Rebellion, that thing sponsored by some evil force, whatever his name is, but also the Russian people, the 2045 people, 2045, who were transforming to a new human that they want to make into a cyborg and an avatar. Yeah.
So it's not set in stone. At this point, it's not set in stone whether we go with what I've just said, which is back to sovereignty to self. We awaken our third eye, we grow up, we become the adults, but we see, even though we're becoming the adults, we see the world through the eye of a child. So you can be childlike and fun. You don't have to become serious, okay? But you've got the other agenda, which is the eugenics agenda, which is another option that you could go along. If not enough of humanity waken up, then there's the eugenics option, which I personally won't be part of the eugenics option.
What are you saying that eugenics option is?
That's where you microchip the people and you have them followed, whether that's through a chip in themselves or whether it's a nanoparticle that they use to trace you.
The DARPA gel. There's a new thing I don't think too many have heard of. It's a gel what they're going to put over your third eye.
Okay.
And it will migrate Pichot technology. Pichot is a million times smaller than nano. It might be a billion times smaller than nano. And it will migrate into your brain and then start redoing your brain. That's DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know about that one, but I knew about the eugenics one. So you have these options, it's options now. It's up to humanity. What do you choose? This is potentially a free will planet. That is why you have a choice. Everybody who came here now chose to be here for this transformation.
I think when I interviewed Stuart Sverdlow, whose family founded the KGB, but he's American and he's intricately involved with the Montauk Project, which people can look up. He explained that the old management, the old rulers, are leaving.
Yeah.
But the new ones are taking over. So this moment is the crucial moment that we have to take ownership of the planet and kick these guys back to wherever they're coming from. This is right now. We can take our planet back.
Yeah. Yeah, we awaken out of the matrix. It's going to be tricky. It's not going to be easy because, everybody is so indoctrinated into being told what to do that when you go, actually, you've got your free will. And this is why you're seeing people going, what are they saying? What are the government saying? I'm not actually sure. They're saying we can go out, we can stay in. What are we doing? Are we allowed to see one person? Hold on. And then you saw, because I used to do a TV show with Philip Schofield back in the day. So you saw Philip almost exploding going to Matt Hancock, you're telling me that I can let a cleaner in my house, but I can't actually see both parents at the same time? And Matt Hancock's going, that's correct, like the robot that he might be. So what that's actually telling you is, can you see that nothing makes sense anymore from the government? Okay?
Yes, absolutely. They're nonsense, and they've got themselves into a right mess on that regard because they're now, as a lot of commentators are saying, they got us into lockdown, but they've told us so much stuff which conflicts with any option of getting out of a lockdown. So once they tell us one thing about the lockdown and what you can do, it counteracts and completely invalidates the stuff that they've already told us because they're lying through their bloody teeth.
Also, on the 13th of May, if you go onto the police website, which I would advise you to not listen to the media, if you want to know the rules of the game, if you just want to know what the 3D rules of the game are, go on the government's website. Now, remember, Scotland, Wales and England come under different jurisdictions. So as of the 13th of May, it is no longer an enforceable legal ability. Even under the COVID bill of 2020, no police officer in England can arrest you or fine you for being 2 meters apart, less than 2 meters apart. Okay. In Wales, I haven't checked because that was the 13th when I looked, and obviously it's the 15th. I must specify it's the 15th of May today. So everything is very time important. That's why when Miles interviews me, I always state the date. It's the 15th of May, 2020.
And it's also 14:26 hours on British Summer Time on the 15th of May, 2020.
Yeah. So basically, it's very important that you know the rules and you keep up to date with the rules just to avoid conflict, okay? And for your own peace of being, because it makes it a lot easier if you go, oh, well, actually, it's not a law. Nothing bad could happen to me. Now, if I was in Wales, it might be different, okay? Also, the fines are a lot lower in Wales. In the UK, the fines have been increased for other offences. Now, I can't retain in my mind all the minutiae detail of the rules, okay? But they're
they're hundreds of pounds, aren't they?
Then they've gone up to thousands now. First offence, I think, was originally 30, then it was 60, now it's 100 in England. But remember, you can't be fined for being less than 2 metres apart. You know, you can be fined for other things that you cannot prove what you're doing. And I think people seem to have got lost in the story and trying to project beliefs onto their neighbours, that actually, me personally, as a self-employed person, Miles the same, many of you who might watch this self-employed, you are allowed by law, as from the beginning of this game when it commenced, to bob about and do what you need to do to keep your business running. Now, people who have a more 9-to-5 job were under a different jurisdiction because they are not self-employed. Also, you get different trinkets being offered to you by the government because they have offered you 80% of your income, okay? Whereas self-employed people are supposedly getting 80% of their...
none of that's happening from what it's bullshit.
Net profit. But I looked to apply the other day, and we've only got, I think, from the 14th to the 18th to apply, but they want a lot of information off some people. I have an accountant, so I don't file my own taxes. Now, the people who file their own taxes said they found it easier, but probably because they've given information about themselves previously. If you and an accountant can't do this, so you have to do it yourself. But when you apply for this supposed 80%, you have to, they want either your passport number, they want your driving license number, or they want your credit card to do a credit reference check on you. Or they also want something else, which I can't remember now exactly what it was. But, that was it. And you had to give your phone number, which, again, if you give your mobile phone number, if you've only got one phone number and you've got a smartphone, you're going to be giving your information to be tracked. Okay, so I kind of...
and that's happened. We went for a walk, and they had us tracked. They knew where we'd been for... They knew where we'd been, which basically means it's our walk. You walk up, down devices and back again. But I think because we walked around the green, they didn't know where the hell that was. And where were you? You had another... listen, forget that. Let's go with you.
So I had a question mark over that. But earlier in the day, because I live so intuitively, I'd already gone into my mobile. And because I have an account that isn't even my business email account, I have another one, like we have with like Yahoo or Google or AOL or something like that. I'd actually gone in and deactivated my name and deactivated my address. And you couldn't have nothing. You had to put something. So you can put a made-up fictitious name in if you want. It's not illegal to do that. You can do that. So I changed mine. So I think, if you can figure out this game, which, it takes a lot of your time, and you have to have compassion. If you have a 9-to-5 job and you've got children and you've got all these distractions, it's not as easier to unravel yourself from the matrix as it is for someone who is, solely concentrating on this, as sort of I have, or Miles has for the last 20 years. But that doesn't mean you can't do it, because what we're doing is like taking the stuff that you have don't necessarily have time to unravel and going, here you go, this is it, what do you do next? Now you've got to use your time wisely, use your time in a way that assists you to unravel your soul from this matrix without going into fear. And the other thing that's come up with clients in the last few days, and makes it hard for me to help people when they go into paranoia, because when they go into paranoia, their voice goes to a frequency where they can't hear me speaking like this. And I have to almost speak to them like I'm an authority figure, and I don't want to do that because I'm empowering you back to yourself. It also hurts my throat chakra to start going, listen, and you don't want to do that because they're like, like that. They're like completely gone ungrounded, and then they've gone into mind control programs as well. And then when I sing the light language, sometimes normally somebody would go, oh yeah, that was amazing, this happened, blah blah blah. But when I do it, I have to be very careful because they're just drifting off into oblivion, and I'm going, hello, come back, earthing you, and they're off somewhere else for like minutes, and they don't know where they've been. So it's bringing them back into their body. But going back to the main reason why we're talking about this, the unicorn represents those who will inherit the earth.
I'm going to put that back up on screen just so people can see it. Yep.
Yes. Only those who are pure of heart. That's why in the beginning, when you used to see the unicorn, it wasn't linked to the patriarch. It was linked to, Mary. You would see the Virgin Mary holding a unicorn, like in the museum in Warsaw in 1480. There is an image of the Virgin Mary holding a unicorn, okay, which symbolizes those of purity of heart go through the mother energy, go to inherit the earth, okay? But it's all in allegory, so you have to be able to decode the allegory. And even there's more, but I think it would be too much for people to.
But there's something interesting happening here. I mean, the government actually, before a lot of the lockdown started, they actually decategorized the virus. They made it was okay, blah 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 blah, on their website.
So
and it's interesting the way that you're saying that if you go onto the government website, the government on the website or somebody else or different branch of the government is giving you very useful, stable information. And again, you pointed out if you live in Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland, these are different. You've got to check what your local thing is.
Yeah, and we'll also just cover something else. So what Miles is saying, on the 23rd of March 2020, so this is way back when this game began, the coronavirus was declassified as a non-highly infectious disease. We said this in other videos. So that was the 23rd of March that was declassified, okay? But people don't hear that. And then we moved from the coronavirus to COVID-19, which is a completely different operation.
Yes.
That's when Bill Gates's operation comes in, which is the chipping operation. That's what that is. So remember, we talked about the thymus gland, which is what you have to open, which is CV19. And a friend reminded me of that. So I just want to credit Lucia with reminding me that the acupuncture point was CV19. And also, let's just go back to the passport, because in ancient passports in Scotland, you had 2 unicorns. You didn't even have the lion. So that was on a different timeline initially in Scotland. I don't as yet. I'm kind of, as we go through this, okay, because I can read the emotional Akashic records, I'm only uncoding the Akashic records a tiny bit ahead of what we need to know. So as we need to know this, because what happens is if you give everybody too much, even myself, if we see everything all at once, we get overwhelmed and it collapses our emotional energy field. So you have to just take it in increments. Otherwise you will have a complete meltdown and you'll be overwhelmed. It's like,
and that's down to each individual. Take it easy, take it thing. And as I say on my t-shirt, turn off your TV and think for yourself.
And as I don't know who it said, TV is for appearing on, not watching.
Well, yes.
That's always been a good, at these times, it has served its purpose. And, now we're going on to a different timeline and a different reality. And although Hollywood will probably try and get itself re-going again, because I saw some emails saying about some filming has never even stopped, and as you've seen with some of the TV shows, but they're giving misinformation. It even made me laugh yesterday, because I don't really watch it, but I watch it sometimes if I'm intuitively guided to watch it on YouTube. And it made me laugh because you had Anne Widdecombe talking from her garden with a couple of gnomes wearing a red coat and a toadstool in the back of her garden.
I wonder if she deliberately, consciously did that. Yeah.
I don't know. But that made me laugh because she was telling people you need to wear a mask, you need to stay 2 meters apart, totally unaware that the law has changed in England. And also,
the thing about wearing masks is that it also excludes your body to exhale properly and also breathe properly. Something like 60% of the body, your body waste, doesn't go out the bottom end. It comes out through your breath, and if you're continually not allowing that out, you're going to make yourself sick.
And the only mask that would benefit you, I can't remember what number they're called, but they're the ones with the full mask, and like the ones they had in the war. But you would have to change the filter every 72 hours for it to be effective. Okay, so these little things that people are making. What worried me also was I saw a friend's daughter, and the thing is the people of the earth, they're well-meaning, but they're naive and they don't have the correct information.
And
So
who's to blame for that?
yes,
Well,
where my friend's daughter was, I was like, oh no, what's she doing? Because she was making masks for babies and toddlers. I was like, oh my goodness, this is really bad. And then when I went out, not yesterday, but the day before, because that was the first day that you were supposedly allowed out to meet other people, there were many people who obviously have been too terrified to even go out in 6 weeks. They've been getting online shopping. So these people were out, not that there were many of them, but they were out and they had their kids wearing masks with pictures on them because they obviously thought it was cool to wear a mask. And that's the worst thing that's going to happen, is it's been made to be cool, which it is not cool.
and it's the young who are the least susceptible.
Yeah, so they're
does need to be programmed there's a German survey just been published on Lockdown TV, which is a bunch of doctors who are talking to each other all about this thing. Yeah. And it's incredibly important information. Lockdown TV giving what the doctors are talking about and not what the politicians are talking about. And even with families, in Germany, because they chose a county in Germany, and they'd also had a major festival with lots of people at close contact, dancing and having a whole thing as they do. And the most because in Europe they have a habit of kissing each other, that was the transmission rate. But dancing really didn't make much too difference, but the ability to have a good clean flow of air did. So it's not good for nightclubs and things. But even people at home in a family, who it was only a 15% infection rate within closely knit families. So it's,
But when you hug, you give off endorphins that are healing and increase your vibration. So you need to hug. You need to hug because that increases your vibration. Okay, so there's lots of things and there's more to investigate and find out later. But today we were predominantly dealing with the unicorn.
Well, let's put that up again, because this is very important. And again, this has actually been circulated by Haley Murray, and it was originally your post. That's the whole point of this, right? Originally your post, which is why you called me about an hour ago and wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, in a way, everything works out for a higher purpose, So I make this post. It took me a while to investigate that when I did, which was the 12th of May, which was watching a UK TV briefing from the 11th of May. And then I wrote my post and I wrote comments which made sense to the post. And then earlier I just saw someone had posted it and I thought, oh, that's great. Somebody else has figured it out. And then I thought, hold on, that's actually my post. And somebody else had taken it and almost kidnapped my post, which didn't really matter, but it does in the fact of integrity. So in the 10 commandments we're told, do not steal. Okay, so why you couldn't just share my post, why you had to take it and put it on your page.
That was a cut and paste job.
Yeah.
And alter it. Yeah.
Paste job, which means they didn't actually tinker with one word, but what they did do was take it out of context. So you didn't have any of the comments that I wrote below it, which would make sense.
Is very important. Very, very, very important.
So that's why, but on a higher level, I'm happy that I happened to just see it on Miles's page.
Yeah, well, I shared it honestly. I mean, really, I did. I think I just sort of forwarded it on. So I didn't alter it at all. Please.
Then it served a higher purpose because
I served a higher purpose. That's right.
Which allowed us to make this video now, which I personally probably wouldn't have done if I hadn't have seen that post and Miles hadn't said to me, well, do you want to make a video and explain it further? So everything serves a higher purpose, which actually takes us into divine forgiveness, which goes back to the original thing, which is in the Garter Circular on the thing, which is that says, shame on him who evil thinks. Okay, so it goes back to that saying. So it's about forgiveness, it's about divine forgiveness, but they removed that shame on him who evil thinks. That's gone.
Now, is this from the current one? Yeah. Password. And I'm going to ask you, what about the new one that they're proposing, since we allegedly leaving the EU? Or are we joining the European army to fight World War III with the Chinese?
I don't know what will be on that one. Hold on one second, because I can show you. Hold on one second. Hold on.
Okay, we're now holding on for 1 second, and while we do that, why don't we have another lovely look at she's running around. She's running around. Yeah.
But I was going to show you the new £20 note, which has the molecule on it of the coronavirus.
Well, I think I might have one. God help us. Now, I was trying to set up a camera so you could see what what the output was. So I'm gonna. Which side of the new £20 note?
It's the one with the molecule on it. Can you see?
The molecule. Und molecule. Where the flip me is a molecule? Ah, is that the molecule? Yeah, I think so. Okay, I'm not. It's behind the crown.
Right. Okay. There's something else that happens.
Okay.
Okay. No, bring it back in. Oh, when you photograph, with your phone, that molecule, what will come up,
On the other side, just for the sake of, is the 3D crown. And I'm showing it to a different camera, so you're going to get a slightly off bit of a shot. Okay.
Yeah, when you photograph the molecule yourself, what you'll see when you see the photograph is, you'll see it look very different when you photograph it with a smartphone, because what it will reveal with the smartphone is these micro dots, which the micro dots are part of the nanotechnology tracking, which is what they might use if they use the eye retina micro tracking.
Now, I was. Are you talking about the micro dots on the £20 note when you take a photograph of it?
Yes.
Because the whole point of this plastic money is that the logo of the crown, I think, is a tracker. It's an esoteric tracker, and it's a more accurate tracker as to who's handled and what's been going on than the credit card, because they're using black magic on all this.
I didn't know that bit. Yeah, I just knew that there were dots in it that you can only see when you.
And it's important that the mobile phone, the smartphone, sees that, because that's what it's designed to see.
Yeah, that's what it will see. So it's like, there's so much to this stuff, but we're unraveling it, day by day, which a day is a year in the corona times, it's like.
Changes every day, yeah. God help us.
It's never been so exciting to be on planet Earth,
Yeah, well, myself, I'm going to put a shout out here in the middle of this. Both myself and Kerry Cassidy's websites were demonetized yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think because I put it down to a previous interview I did with Carol Newland, who effed and blinded quite a bit, preaching revolution. But it's interesting now that more and more of these sites I'm assuming demonetization is one stage before being taken straight off.
Well, I don't know. I think demonetization from YouTube for you personally, Miles, is a positive thing, because I said this to Miles in a comment the other day.
She did.
I did. So, when you were gaining only a very small income from YouTube, what was happening was, Miles has no control over what adverts are used to promote his videos, as does I don't even monetize my videos on YouTube. I've left them to be free. But Miles monetized his, so you don't have any control. So they may well be things that you're not in alignment with in integrity. So as we're moving from 3D to 4D to 5D, you either have the opportunity to do something like Patreon. I haven't done Patreon, but in the last few weeks, and in 20 years I've never done this, I just put a PayPal me link on some of my videos and put them on Facebook and ask people, you mustn't ask for donations, because if you ask for a donation, you come under a charity legislation, and we're not considered as charities, Right. And PayPal there's a cap on how much you can receive, and then you have to prove what you're taking the money for to be able to release the money to you. So the best thing to do is ask for people to support you in what you're doing, because you're assisting humanity to awaken out of the matrix. So just use a PayPal me or Patreon. Some people like Patreon. I might move to Patreon. I don't know.
I've been trying to get Patreon to work for about 3 years, and I still haven't got it to work.
Yeah. So literally, if Miles puts a link below in his thing, which he should put a hyperlink, but he never puts a hyperlink. So you need to put a hyperlink that you can just click, which will go to his website or go to a PayPal account, like I'm doing with mine now. And that's to ask people by heart, you know, if you've enjoyed these videos, you feel they benefit you in awakening, then you may want to, from heart, give something that feels appropriate to you. And also, let us mention something else. If you're no longer paying for the BBC TV license, okay, you have some spare funds to use to distribute among the people whose videos you enjoy.
God.
Do you like that?
So I've got to change my website from donate to gift or something.
No, you mustn't use the word gift. Just support, because they're supporting you to do this.
Yeah.
You know, you're always at Screwfix buying.
I'll be phoning my webmaster immediately.
You know, so this is how we enter the new earth of 5D. We give people the opportunity. You know, I at present don't want to make my site a paid members site. I want to give humanity the opportunity.
Well, it gets so different. It gets pain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bloody hassle involved with all that.
Yeah. And then, you know, you do have things.
And then people think you're only in for the bloody money and nothing else. But it's virtually 100% of my time, especially it is now.
Yeah. So you give people the opportunity to say, you know, it's been of benefit to them. It's not been of benefit to them. This is how we enter 5D. These are the rules of 5D living, where you give. But while we're in that transitory period, you can have things that you do charge for and you have a price on.
Oh God! I mean, we're dealing with 5G, 5 gigahertz. Now we're dealing with 5D, G. Oh God, how do we handle this?
It's all about 5. You know, we're going to go higher than 5 eventually, but 5 is the number. You know, 5D or 5G. It's D to the G. You know, it's better to go with the D than the G.
And what's that comedy said? And it was a DJ or DG? I think it was DJ.
Yes, it's 5D. It's 5D or 5G.
What's his name? Rossiter. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Reggie Perrin. That's it.
Yeah.
DG. DG or DJ. Yeah.
So I have to go now. So I've loved chatting.
Go now. Have to go now. Well, this has been a live to YouTube on my current still there basis web thing site. Do support Andrea and do support me if you can.
Yeah, my website's andreafoulkes.com, and I post prolifically on my Facebook page. I've got a business page which says Andrea Foulkes, intuitive visionary, past life regression expert. And then I've got my other page, which I seem to, for some reason, post more on, which is Andrea Foulkes. So that's Foulkes, or you can just, at present still, search engine me.
Oh, you can search engine you. Oh, boy.
How long that will remain for, but you know, if you use DuckDuck, it's not traced. If you use Google, everything that you look at is traced. But then once
sorry, could you just remind people it was
DuckDuck.com is a search engine.
DuckDuck.com
is a search engine you can use where there's no trace of what you've been looking at. But I think as we go forward and we lose our inner fear and we lose our paranoia, it doesn't really matter what you do, because your frequency will be compatible with a higher frequency of living. And therefore you don't live in fear, and none of it really matters.
Well, on that note, this little short thing's run for 48 minutes, I think. So you've got to be prolific. You've got to go and be oh God, do lots of things.
I have stuff to do in the earthly world.
The earthly world. Well, I've got a giant 6-foot pussycat to keep repairing, which I let people know about, and it's a 6-foot teak, solid teak pussycat. And it's been damaged in the past, I can see. It's got lots of voluminous hair pouring out of her. And that was in the Southgate pub until about a year ago. And I think 2 years ago. And it was also in London. And it's the last thing to come here. It's got really thick golden sort of hair and big ears, black ears. And it's, now that we've repairing it, we've discovered it had a bit of a whack beforehand. So I'm working on that. Solid teak takes 4 people to lift.
Right.
unless you're in the former Southgate pub when you used to lift it, guys would lift it in one go, and everybody liked being happy with it. Brings happiness.
Okay.
And it's good to see you, my darling, and you're looking happy and wonderful. And
Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.
bye, everybody. Bye for now. And we'll fade to black. Okay, well, that was alive. It was good to see her. She's always wonderful to have on the show. And as we did mention, since we're just going to do this live edition, that both Kerry Cassidy and myself websites have been demonetized by YouTube. And now it had collapsed. The numbers have collapsed. The algorithm. I have got a toxic algorithm on my site. And it's nice to see them. We're almost up to 55,000 subscribers. Really, the idea of staying on the YouTube platform, it's just it's not practical anymore because of the way that they can just. So there's got to be other ways of doing things. As a pirate broadcaster, I was privileged to be with the greatest era of broadcasting since the 1960s. While I worked for Standard Telephones and Cables, a company, a corporation, a bunch of people called the BBC, and Sky, with over 21, just under 21 years at Sky. Then that all came to an end, and there's a whole lot of things involved with that. And I've been virtually full-time doing what I'm doing now. And, well, it doesn't run on thin air, and we're still in 3D, and it needs funding. But there's other projects we've tried to get going in the last 10 years, and that would be an independent source of creative and investigative journalism, doing global reports on what's going on, and that has to be completely safe, independent, and really supported by the crowd. No sort of hierarchy, but you still have to have somebody saying when the hell to go on air. Anyway, that's that. All the best, and we'll come off air on that one. A random show from the Basis Project.